everyone, Matt Mahold here with Buckingham Investments, and today I'd like to share with you a story of how my client was able to buy a duplex for $880,000 and sell it recently for $2.15 million and pay zero in capital gains taxes. So let's talk about the why. I had a client approach me, a referral, and they wanted to sell a duplex they bought in 2009. They bought the duplex in 2009 for $880,000, and they did a massive renovation, and they moved their family in. They actually lived in one of the units and they rented out the second unit, and it worked out really, really well for them. So much so that they were actually able to buy another house and turn this duplex that they bought for their family into a rental. And the beautiful thing about that is, if they rent it for 2 tax returns, which they did, he was then able to exchange, pay no capital gains taxes, exchange the full amount into a short-term rental, which his family will enjoy the income from that and help afford their lifestyle. Okay, and a little bit about the how. How did we do this? Well, let's start from the beginning. In 2009, client purchased the duplex for $880,000. Not a bad price. This year, in 2022, client sold for $2.15 million. And he did pretty well. Now, the problem that he just created is he has about $1.3 million in gains, which would be subject to capital gains tax if he was just to sell and take his money and go home with it. Well, that's almost $300,000 in taxes. Let's try to avoid that. So what we did is, instead of paying the taxes on the gains, we were able to, the client had to move out of his house and turn it into a full-time rental. So he rented out the unit he was staying with his family and rented the other unit for 2 full years or 2 tax returns. And that allows us to do a 1031 exchange of the full amount of the gains. So no taxes were paid, and we were able to roll this gain into a new purchase of $2.2 million, a short-term rental. And that short-term rental is grossing over $400,000 in its first year. That's why he did this. He was able to live in his duplex, enjoy it with his family. Once he turned it into a full-time rental, that full-time rental was grossing about $100,000 or less. And so it made sense to exchange the full amount into a better property that's grossing a lot more in income. I think the coolest part about this deal is the client was able to enjoy the best of both worlds. On one hand, they're able to buy a duplex in Belmont Heights. They were able to live in one of the units, collect income from the other unit, therefore they got to live cheaper than other neighbors that didn't have the same setup. And on the other side, they were able to turn it into a full-term rental and able to exchange all the money, all the gains that we talked about earlier, into a new building that's making 4 times what they were making with this original building. I think that's the coolest part about this deal. It was a win-win for everybody. No taxes were paid. And if you're interested in learning more on how this works, or if you're trying to buy or sell here locally, we'd love to help.